So one of the other ways to understand all these different uses that you can get out of large language models is just to plot them on a risk-reward type graph. And I've called it here, or we've called it here, risk/mitigation, because if a certain use case has a high risk, then if you're in an enterprise setting, that's not really acceptable. So it just doesn't just mean, oh, it's high risk. No, it means there's more effort involved in mitigating those high risks. And the reward can be both, whether that's time saving or whether that's perhaps a better quality than what you and your human colleagues would produce. So, well, for AI trainers, the most obvious one is generating training phrases. And those of you, again, that have followed the news already a bit have seen that a bunch of platforms are already helping you with this out of the box. And actually, when I saw all of this, and I looked at what these platforms can generate in terms of training phrases, I was thinking, I can see a few things that are wrong with it, but actually it's okay, especially for a first iteration, right? Let's just generate the training phrases. And then I was thinking, am I just being highly critical because my job is being automated? So as we develop this presentation towards all of you, I had a bit of a, I wasn't sure if I could trust my own judgment for a moment, because I thought, is my ego just acting up and saying like, oh, well, yeah, those training phrases, I guess they look okay, but if you really look at them, they're not that great. And well, it led me actually to think that, well, let me come back to that thought for a second. Let me first finish this graph for all of us. So another, little bit more risky use case of these large language models is to help with various types of functional testing.
Oh no, we lost Willem. An LLM took his place. That is strange. He's just talking about job loss and he's losing connection, but he said he had a backup Wi-Fi because sometimes his Wi-Fi is a little shaky. And he's back.
Yeah, I'm back. Oh, it's my Wi-Fi? Yeah, it wasn't saying so.
I don't know.
And I have our colleagues in my chat as well saying, you're offline. So apologies, everyone. I'm going to switch to a different Wi-Fi.
Yeah. We lost you after the intro. No.
That's not a joke. That's not funny. Okay, let me push here, edit.
Get some slides. I did see, by the way, we forgot to kind of we started talking. We didn't really introduce ourselves. Somebody asked who are we, which I think is a fair question. So for people that don't know us, because we have a lot of people here because we've opened it up. So there's a lot of people that have no idea who we are. So my name is Willem Don. I'm one of the founders of Conversation Design Institute. So we train and certify people working in conversational AI around the world. And we have a few organizations. We have CDI Foundation, which is a nonprofit where we figure out what the best practices are together with the industry. Then we have Conversation Design Institute, where we teach and certify people on these best practices. And then there is CDI Services. That's the company that Willem works for. That actually it's a great consulting firm that helps enterprises deliver value through conversational AI. So perhaps you want to say a few more words about yourself, Willem, as well. Any hobbies or things. But yeah, I saw the question in the chat. It's like, yes, fair enough. Who are we? Who are these people? Why are they talking about this stuff?
Yeah, that's fair. But I'm actually not going to address it. So I'm going to be a mystery to those of you that have never been in an expert class or a meeting with me. Because what I really want to do is get through this nice presentation that we all spent so much effort on. Functional testing, we think in the future there's going to be improvements there, but there's already tools out there to automate parts of your testing, of your functional testing anyway. So LLMs are already up against something that is already working to some extent quite well. And also, yeah, it's going to be hard to get those to work on at scale. Without really diving too much into that, I want to look at another one. So assisted intent matching. What we mean by that is a multitude of ways to assist your traditional intent model. For instance, one of the things that I've heard is to check when a customer asks something that is very long, very verbose, to ask the LLM to summarize it and then run it through your intent model, or for things like long tail questions, where the intent model is quite clear or quite certain that it's likely not a question that it has covered in the intent model. So those are also interesting ones that we expect impact from right now. The challenge with these is really to pick one problem that you're currently facing with your intent model, to try and fix that again. That's again the go slow to go fast approach, and not say like, oh, well, let's first let it take over the entire intent matching and then just see where it fails, and then we slowly bring the intent matching back. Another one that's possibly going to be huge in the future, and some platforms already allow it or already help you do that, is to automatically implement dialogues that you or your colleagues have designed. So in other words, you design it perhaps in voice flow or in some sheet or whatever, and it automatically generates the flow diagram or the other elements needed to represent that dialogue in the system. The challenge with using that is that an LLM might hallucinate based on your design and might start to introduce or omit certain things that are key. For instance, certain repair flows. It might be a bit more liberal with your persona than you'd like. So there's actually the work that you save in not having to implement something is work that you then immediately get by having to review it. Now it can still save you time, but it's not necessarily gonna be a big return on investment, I guess, so to speak. And there's a risk that even though you reviewed it, it's still going to contain major errors, whether that's factual errors, persona, design errors, functionally. Again, these repair flows not existing or not working properly. So the last bubble that I'm throwing on here, blind test generation, that's one that we'll dive in a little bit more today. Because what we expect is there to be a pretty high reward versus the risk that you're getting. And let's do a quick refresher for those of you that are not familiar with what blind testing really is. Blind testing is sort of the way to measure how, the quality of the cognition of your model. So how well is your AI assistant at finding the correct answer to a question?